All for One is the big baddie of My Hero Academia, but when you stack him up against some of the greatest fighters in anime, he's not so tough. Here are some of our favorite heroes who would bring him down no problem. It's pretty much impossible to talk about the toughest warriors in all of anime and not mention Goku from the Dragon Ball franchise. It seems like supervillains are always trying to either take over the world or destroy it completely, or at least the confident ones do. But Goku has more than enough power to crush the entire Earth, or even destroy the whole universe. Don't get me wrong, All for One is a formidable villain, but Goku is next level. He is so strong that in Dragon Ball Super they had to hold the Tournament of Power in a negative dimension, because otherwise the power of his battles would have shattered the entire known universe. Goku is so powerful that he doesn't even fear the all-powerful Omni King, who is capable of blinking out universes on just a whim. Okay, so maybe that's because Goku is too dumb to be properly afraid of Xeno, but still, it's impressive. Oh, and did I mention that he can summon the ultimate god of his universe by literally pushing a button? Because it's pretty telling about the level of Goku's strength that he doesn't use this all the time. All for One is a tough villain, but he's a mere mortal. When Goku wants to challenge himself, which is pretty much always, he fights against actual gods. Gods of destruction. Beerus can destroy planets with a single flick of his finger, and Goku was able to hold his own in a fight against him. Not only that, but his primary concern during their battle was how to prevent his home planet from being wiped out. And then there's the fact that he's managed to master Ultra Instinct, a move so challenging that even Beerus can't really pull it off. Goku's body can react of its own accord to incoming attacks, meaning that he can preserve his own precious and somewhat limited mental energy. This hero grew up throwing cars around when he was just a kid, and it's safe to say that he's gotten a little bit stronger since then. Like, potentially whole universe destroying. Even when he's not in Super Saiyan God mode, his powers are still pretty much God tier when you compare them to characters from other fictional universes. Quirks or not, Goku is just on a completely different level from All for One. And a battle between the two of them would hardly be a challenge for Goku, much to his disappointment, I'm sure. Sorry, All for One, but maybe spend a bit of time in a hyperbolic time chamber and then get back to me. Both admirable and compelling about Goku is that he is always pushing himself to his absolute limits. We've seen him give it everything he has and sacrifice his own health and safety in order to protect others. So we have definitely seen him reach the at least temporary limits of his own power. But Saitama from One Punch Man is a totally different story. We haven't even come close to seeing him go all out on an enemy, and why would we? Whatever he did during his training period may have made his hair fall out, but it also made him the strongest being in the One Punch universe, if not all other fictional universes. In fact, Saitama's greatest enemy isn't even a living being, because if it was, Saitama would blast him straight into the stratosphere. His real enemy is his feeling of aimlessness, and he struggles to cope with the fact that even the biggest baddies out there aren't enough to put up an even mildly interesting fight. And as we all know, you can't just punch your way to a positive outlook. Other than his constant existential crisis, Saitama's weakness, if you can even call it that, is he doesn't just throw his strongest punch around on every single enemy. If he wanted to, he could have utterly destroyed Speed of Sound Sonic, but instead he stepped in to stop his fight with Geno and can barely even remember his nemesis's name. He's capable of punching his enemies so hard they actually explode, but he doesn't always put his all into every punch. If he did, the show would be a lot shorter, and a lot messier. But an enemy like All for One might actually inspire Saitama to, try in a fight. All Might did a pretty thorough job of trouncing his villain, but he keeps coming back for more. With this in mind, Saitama would definitely benefit from taking him out once and for all. And based on what we've seen of his powers, he has the skill to do it. Saitama could destroy the entire planet if he had a mind to, so taking out All for One might not even require his mightiest, most singular punch. Or maybe he could just punch that mask right off his face like he did during his battle against Boros and let nature take its course. You don't even have to venture outside the world of My Hero Academia to find someone who can defeat All for One. That's because this anime contains the greatest hero there ever was or ever will be, and his name is All Might. No, don't even bother arguing with me about this because it is an indisputable fact that All Might's the best, and we all know it. Now, moving on. When My Hero Academia starts out, the almighty All Might admittedly isn't at his best. Thanks to a grievous injury from years back, his power is waning and he's only able to access a mere fraction of his strength he had in his prime. Before you let this dampen your faith in our hero, I have some bad news for you. This kind of thing happens to us regular, non-spectacular humans too. Anyway, All Might can only stay in his super buff form for short periods of time, and even then he's not as strong as he used to be. But that doesn't mean he can't absolutely destroy enemies, including Nomu, who was created with the express purpose of bringing him down. Sure, it took a few more punches than normal, but he got the job done. Even when All Might had to use the last remaining dregs of his power and a broken arm, he still managed to deliver a rousing United States of Smash. This blow was powerful enough to blast a crater into the earth, save the day, and make Deku cry. Definitely just him and not any grown men watching at home moved by this amazing display of strength and courage. Usually when we put together these matchups, it requires a lot of speculation about what would happen if these two characters interacted in real life. But we've already seen All Might defeat All for One at just a fraction of his possible strength. And this was the second time he defeated All for One, since he was the villain who caused his health to start deteriorating. Even if the villain survives, it is still a win, and All Might has taken down All for One twice when most characters couldn't even survive a single encounter. At full strength, All Might is unstoppable, and even with a little bit of fire left in him, he is still unstoppable. And don't even get me started on his massive amount of inner strength, which is what truly makes him such a great hero in the first place. Goku and Saitama are both so crazy powerful that Naruto might not look as impressive in comparison. But let's take a moment to consider Naruto on his own merits instead of stacking him up against potential universe-destroying titans. Because our favorite Hokage isn't going to be fighting against Goku or Saitama in this scenario, he's going up against All for One. And I think Naruto is definitely powerful enough to bring this villain down. All for One's big trick is stealing other people's quirks, but it's likely this power wouldn't translate to Naruto's abilities. I'll give him his arsenal of already stolen quirks, but I doubt he'd be able to take away any new skills in this clash of anime characters. All for One can grow himself some new arms, but Naruto can unleash an army of shadow clones. All for One can enhance his physical form, but Naruto can enter Sage Mode and give a serious boost to his abilities. Basically, take all the tricks All for One has, and Naruto can do them better. We know that All for One did some considerable damage to our hero All Might, but Naruto can use the tailed beast balls to revitalize life force, heal wounds, or grant other temporary chakra cloaks. With Ragdoll's search quirk at his disposal, All for One might be able to hold his own against Naruto's army of shadow clones, so I'll give him a point there. But overall, Naruto's abilities are more impressive, and without the option of All for One acquiring more, that's not gonna change. If these two characters ever faced off against one another, All for One's best option would probably be to warp away before he's totally destroyed. There is no denying that All for One is a tough villain to beat, but it's possible that all the right hero needs to defeat him is a little bit of magic. Alright, let's be real here. It's gonna take an insanely large amount of magic. But luckily, I know of an anime where access to that kind of magic isn't a problem. In the world of Puella Magi Madoka Magica, or simply Madoka Magica, tons of awesome witch-slaying powers can be yours for the low, low price of your soul. But that's a small price to pay the insidious yet adorable Kyubey for pretty much any wish. And pink-haired Madoka definitely got her soul's worth out of her bargain with Kyubey. Honestly, Kyubey could probably defeat All for One if he could use his incredible wish-granting abilities on himself instead of just prospective witch hunters. We know he's essentially immortal since he can replicate himself after being destroyed, although he admits that the process is mildly irritating. But as far as we know, he either can't or chooses not to grant himself whatever he wants. What we do know is that the more powerful the girl, the more powerful wish Kyubey can grant her. and the more powerful a witch she'll inevitably become when things go wrong. Homura Akemi is a strong character in the series who could definitely provide a challenge against All for One. She can create homemade explosives, take down ultra-powerful witches, and if all that wasn't enough, she can also rewind time to give herself as many chances as she needs to get the job done. She can only travel back in time for a month, but that is a lot of prep time. Just imagine how unstoppable Batman would be if he could give himself a month to prepare before every major villain battle. But my pick to go up against All for One is still Madoka, who is so powerful the idea of her turning into a witch forced Homura to go back in time and try to prevent it. Although she spent most of the series as a strictly non-magical girl, when she wished big. She rewrote not just history, but the laws of the universe. Of course, Madoka did this to save magical girls and prevent future witches, but there's no reason she couldn't have used her power to vanquish one incredibly powerful enemy like All for One. Yes, Madoka is pretty in pink, but she's definitely not someone you'd want to underestimate. Plus, it would be pretty amazing to see this smug villain get taken out by someone whose fighting title is Magical Girl. All for One is one of the most powerful players in My Hero Academia. But which other anime characters would you recruit to defeat him? Share your pick with us in the comment section, and don't forget to click subscribe for more videos from us here at CBR. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.